Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. I'm not sure which one is it today, but yeah, we had plenty of them. I think it's fifth. It's really good to keep tradition.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our web.
And yeah, let's wait a couple of minutes for people to gather, and we will be starting shortly. Just a small note, at the end of the webinar, we will have a little quiz, and the link will be sent in the chat so that you can guys win some exciting gifts. Neha, who is presenting today, will be giving us more details later on. So please, if you can write, if the sound is good, you can see the video, if everything is fine, let us know in the chat. Also, you can write questions in the chat as well. And at the end of the session, the speakers, they will be answering all of them. So we will have it smooth without interruption much. So all the questions will be answered at the end of the session. Yeah, so I think we are ready to start. If someone is late, they can come a little bit later, not a problem. So yeah, I will be given the panel to the first speaker, Neha. She will introduce herself and just take it from there. Just give me a second, I'm giving you the access, make a host. Okay, I think now you are able to present. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Alona. Let me just quickly introduce myself. First I'll share my screen. All right, are you guys able to see my screen? Yeah. All right, Alona, maybe you can just check in the chat if everyone is able to see the screen. All right, so let me introduce myself. My name is Neha Shah, and I'm working as a lead QA engineer at Starsplay, and we are working basically on the API testing and the backend area. So today's session is somewhat related to that. So we will be introducing the API testing using Rest Assured and Cucumber. Along with me, I have Rija. She is my colleague here, and she works with our Starsplay office in Lahore. So she will be also presenting and introducing about mocks, wire mocks. So we will be having a discussion on how we can prepare the mocks, and she will be taking you to the small demo on how she is doing it currently. All right, so let's get started. So first of all, we'll just quickly go through the agenda. So in the agenda, as first we will start with the difference between what is the monolithic and the microservice architecture. So you will get an understanding of what is the difference between the monolithic and microservice architecture. Then we will discuss about a use case. So it will be like a problem statement, which we will try to automate using Rest Assured and Cucumber. So let me just quickly go through what use case we will be working on. So it will be, let's say, if a user is trying to log in into a portal and he is trying to get the list of the profiles available in his account. So there will be two microservices involved. We will come to that, but this is basically the problem statement here. You can imagine a user is trying to log into a system and then he's trying to retrieve the profiles. After that, we will go through the mocks, which will be explained by Rija. So she will explain you what are the mocks, and she will introduce wire mocks, and she will try to create a fake API using the mocks. And those fake APIs we will be using in our testing. Next in the agenda, we will be discussing about Rest Assured. So I can just quickly give you a walkthrough on what is Rest Assured and why we are using it. And then I will quickly try to create a Maven project, and we will have a test case. We will create a sample test case for logging into a user. And then I will move on to the Spec Builder. So Spec Builder is basically a class which is into Rest Assured, and it will kind of prettify your code. So we will see that. Once we are set with the rest assured, we will move on to Cucumber, what is the BDD approach, and then I will introduce the files, which are files and folders which we have in the Cucumber structure, how we run the files, and we will set up the Cucumber project. We will also go through the Gherkin syntax, and I will show you one of the handy plugin which we usually use for converting the feature file to the step definition. So we will go through it. And then we will be discussing about how we can implement Cucumber tables, and if time permits, we can also go for the test reporting. At the end of the session, maybe if you guys have any questions, then you can just write it down in the chat and we will take all your questions. And as Alona already mentioned, so we will be conducting a small quiz regarding whatever the session is about. And you guys will get a chance to win prizes. So the first winner will be getting the 1-year Stars Play subscription for free. And the second and third winners are going to get the 3 months of Stars Play subscription. So I'm sure you guys would love to watch the contents on Stars Play. So stay tuned and let's get started. All right, so let's discuss about the difference between a monolithic and microservice architecture. When I talk about a monolithic architecture, as you can see, it is a simple one application based model where you have everything in there. You have the business logic, your databases, everything into a single confined one application. So let's say you are doing all your login through this, as we discussed about the problem statement, that you have you have to log in the user first and you try to retrieve the profile of that user. So if you are doing the same with using the monolithic architecture, it will be like in a single application, you are writing the APIs and the logic for the login, and also you are writing the logic for retrieving the profile of the user. So let's imagine that the login of this, there is some issue with the login service. Let's say there was some issue with the database or something, and due to that, your entire application is going to go down. So to avoid this, uh, most of the companies have started moving to the microservice architecture. As you can see, there will be a single user face like a portal, and then you will have all your applications into small microservices. For example, this can be your login or the authorization service, which will take care of the logging in the user. And if the user is unauthorized, it will give the error. And if there is some missing parameters, it will throw an error again. Then there will be another service which is trying to get the list of the user. And we have endless other services like this. So the best thing is about microservice architecture is that, let's say there is some issue in your authorization service. So your entire application or your entire portal is not going to go down. There will be only an issue with some of the login features. So that way, at least your customer experience is not hindered. So that's the difference between the monolithic and microservices architecture. So when we move to the microservices, there is also a question for us as a QA on how we can do the integration testing. Let's say if you have a login API, or if you have the authorization service, and then you have the get profile service, how you are going to integrate, because first you need to log in the user, you need to get the required token from that user, from that login API, and then you need to have the response for the get user. So this kind of integration testing, how we can do it with Rest Assured and Cucumber, we will be seeing it ahead. Next, I will be moving on with the mocks. So for mocks, I think we have Raja. She has experienced with mocks and she has been working a lot with the wire mocks. So she can give us a quick demo on how she will be. She has tried to understand, and whatever her understanding is regarding the mocks. So over to you, Raja. Maybe you can introduce yourself first and then you can start.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rita. I think for sharing, I would require the access. So meanwhile,
Yes.
I'm introducing, my colleague can give me the access. I will be explaining mocks as mentioned by Neha, and let's dive right into it. Kindly send the access.
Yeah, just a second, Rita.
Sure, take your time.
Yeah,
All right.
go ahead.
So I hope my screen is viewable for everybody. All right, so let's talk about mocks, what mocks really are. Let's start there. Mocking is basically a process in which you replicate or hard code basically a module or a unit of the product that you're about to develop. And as QA, what we do require is to verify that all of the client requirements are being fulfilled. So in cases where we don't really have the access to the actual module or the unit itself that is being developed, we still need to run a couple of tests if those scenarios will be followed by the actual product or not. So if we do not have access to the actual module, what we can do is create a fake version of that exact product that we require from the developers, and we can test on that. So for the one big reason for using mocks can be unit testing. So if we see in this slide, you can see that there is when you see the production environment, which is the environment for the client to use the real application. In that environment, we have an application, and it corresponds with the user request. User sends a request, and application responds with some kind of response. But say in the middle of it, we have a particular unit or module that still needs to be developed, or we don't really have access to it to test directly on it right now. So what we can do we can do is basically create a mock for it, and that mock can correspond with that particular application or the request. You can basically create fake APIs, which are exactly how the real API should look like, and get the required responses, the ones that you actually want from the product. Now, if we see the second part, which is the test environment I've mentioned, there is a product, there's a software called Wiremocks. We can get into how to install it and everything. But Wiremocks is basically a very simple way to create fake APIs and integrate it with your actual application for integration testing, end-to-end testing, and you can use it alone as well for unit testing of a particular module. So when you are talking about, when you're talking about integration testing, if you see that this is the actual application that is integrated with the var mock. So this part is basically a replica of a unit that we want to develop or that we want to test basically. And the actual application has been integrated with it, and it corresponds with the mock request that is supposed to be the request from the user, how the API should look like. For instance, the login API, how the user is going to log in from a URL, say /login. This would be that particular fake API request, and it would be corresponding with that. Now, if you see, there's this part mappings. Mappings is something that Wiremocks uses for making sure that the fake APIs that you're creating are in place. So mappings is where we write the request, how it should be, and the responses and the fake headers that you're going to add, every single thing that you want in your particular mock. Mappings is where it keeps track of all of that. So for Wiremocks, you can directly download it. It's free too. You can download it on the Wiremock website. Just go into docs, download an installation. I currently use the standalone version, the jar file. And when you just download it, you can start it right away. How you can use it is basically you start the terminal. And since my file is in the download folder, so I'll go there. Then I'll write Java, jar, and the name of the file that is downloaded. This is the downloaded file, the standalone jar file. And I'll just paste the name here. And it should start my Wiremock server. If you can see it, this is how it will look like. Now, how to create the fake APIs? Let's get into that. So for people that do not know this software, this is Postman. It basically is just, you can use it for multiple reasons. You can create fake APIs directly from this. You can run APIs. It's majorly used for manual and automation testing. It is something that we use in our office. So what I have made is a bunch of fake APIs, but currently, since my server just started, there are no mappings. With mappings, again, what I mean is the fake APIs and the track that WireMock keeps of all the fake APIs. So since my local host is running on the port 8080, that's where I go. Then I go to __admin, which is just the admin endpoint for this particular WireMock endpoint, where you are trying to fetch mappings or where you're trying to get new mappings to be hosted. So this is what you use as a keyword in the URL, just so WireMock knows that this is the actual API and not the fake API that you're trying to create. So you go over here and then you go mappings. This should show if the system has, apologies, just give me 1 second. I believe my system is already running somewhere. I will have to close that. All right, so when I start this again, hopefully that should show me no mappings at all. I believe I've copied the file in already. That's why it's showing me. Let me just get back to this real quick after we get into the actual APIs. So let's first look into this particular endpoint where we are trying to add a new fake API. So you go to the same endpoint and you enter the word new in it. And that's how WireMock will know that this is a new fake API that you're about to create. So how it works is there is a request section and then there is a response section. Now, this can be verified from the WireMock docs. They're very well explained, and you can learn that there are a lot of parameters that you can add and how parameters are used in the actual request. So that you can use headers, you can use ways that in which you can pass headers in response, how you want the response type to be. For instance, you want the response type to be JSON or anything basically, and you can look it up in the WireMock documentation and you will find it definitely. So in the request section, you mentioned what the type of method is. So right now I'm making a post request for login, and the URL should be login, /login, and the body pattern should be, if I pass the username John in the body, it should give me this particular response, 200. So when I would create it, it gives me a 201 created response. So this should be created. And if I try to log in with this fake API, that is localhost /login, which is the fake API that I've created and the post type of method, and I am using the username as John, it should give me a response of yes. So you see, this is the mock response that I want, that I've mentioned over here, login success.json, which is a file, body file name. So if I can just quickly show you, this is the body file name. Sorry, not this one, this one. This is the body file that I asked the WireMock to basically respond with when the username is John. So it responded with a session token and profile, and all of these values are hard-coded how I want it to be. So if you see this is exactly what I got. So if in another case, I try to create a new mapping where I am using the username as empty and the response should be 500. If you see, the response for this should be a body file login missing parameter. So I'm creating this mapping. And if I check login now and pass username as empty, was it empty? I believe it was, yes. So if I pass it as empty, it should respond with missing mandatory parameters, which is exactly what I wanted it to say. I've mentioned that in another body file, which is login missing parameters. So it's over here. Yes, so this is what the response I got. Third case is the case where I'm matching password as wrong. So again, it is for the same URL, and I'm saying if the password is wrong, then open this particular file and write in the response whatever this file says. Now that I've created this fake API, I can log in again, but with password as wrong. And the response would be invalid password, which is in the file login invalid password. All right. So this is the first 3 set of cases against the same URL on /login. You need to understand that even if you change very slight things, it will not respond how it should be. Because mocks are basically very hard-coded. So I wrote ABC, and it will respond with request is not matched. It will show what it should be, password wrong, and what is passed, password wrong ABC. So it's saying this is the closest that your request looked like. Basically, you're trying to maybe match this particular stub or mock, and you're not doing it correctly. So make sure that when you create a mock, make sure to keep it exactly like that. Now, why am I saying exactly? If you see this particular part, it says matches JSON path to this thing. This parameter basically means it will exactly match the word zone with what is going to be passed in the body of the fake API. There are different parameters that you can use that can check the validity, or basically it can verify the name partially, or it can basically there are different ways to match the words or the body type or basically anything. There are different parameters for everything that you can think of in an actual request, and you can find it all on the WireMock documentation. So that would be the first scenario. And the second scenario would be to get the user, the actual profile. So in this case, I'm creating a new API, and the method is get because I'm trying to fetch a profile. And the endpoint would be front/users. And the authorization would be equal to bearer null. Let's just go for, okay, yeah. So bearer, if I pass bearer null, it should respond with 401, and it should give me this file in response, or whatever is written in this file. So when I'll create this API and I'll try to fetch the users and I'll pass the header as bearer null, it should respond with yes, 401 unauthorized. And this error again was written in that particular body that I've mentioned over here. Sorry, that particular file that I've mentioned over here. Last case is the happy case of authorization header, where I'm passing, I believe I've changed the request a little bit. Let's try this. So if I pass bearer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it should respond with 200, and it should get me the file get user success. This is the file that I want to get because it's the profile that I'm trying to fetch. And if I do this, and if I go over here, hopefully it'll give me the response. I believe Postman has messed up my APIs a little bit. Yeah.
I think there is a mistake in the file name. Maybe the file name is with SUC.
Yeah, there's a single S. Yes, you're right. Thank you. So if I hopefully try to fetch it now, yes. So thank you so much, Neha. So this is the file that I've gotten in response. This is how you can create different fake APIs. You can fetch those APIs through mappings. Now you need to understand that there are 2 folders where I've saved those files. The files, one is the __ files, which is created right when you download and start the terminal, start the standalone server through the terminal. And the other one is mappings. Mappings is where I've contained this particular file, in which it shows all of the mappings that I've created, the post, login, the password wrong, everything that I've created, it is mentioned over here. And the other folder is for files with all of the responses, just to keep it tidy. So that is it from the mock side. Now, I believe Neha is going to show you how you can integrate that in the and how you can integrate that with the actual system, with the mock system, where you can use rest assured and Cucumber. And I'll pass the access to her so she can continue with that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Raja. Let me share my screen. All right. So can you guys see my screen? Okay. So sorry, I forgot to start my video. All right. So let's understand what exactly is Rest Assured and why we are using Rest Assured. So Rest Assured is basically a platform or a tool or a library, you can say, which is used to test, or which simplifies the testing of our RESTful web services. So Rest Assured can also be used to request the REST web services and match the response of the content and have the status code matching. Even you can just fetch the JSON response. You can have it in the text format, or you can have it in the XML formats. So those things are supported by the Rest Assured library already. And we can write the test cases in our application, and then Rest Assured can be combined with the test execution tools like TestNG and JUnit for executing the test suites, the different test suites which we usually define as the QA team. We have the regression suite different. If we want to do some quick UAT test for a client, then we have a separate suite for that. So all these things can be managed using TestNG or JUnit. we will see to it. Currently in my framework, I'm using JUnit. So we will see it how we are using and how we are executing the test cases. Rest assured supports almost all kind of methods, the API methods like the get, post, put, delete, option, head, and patch. And we can, as I mentioned earlier, we can validate and verify the responses of all such kind of APIs. The best part of Rest Assured is it's open source and free. So, and it just requires some basic Java skill sets, and we can just have our framework up and running. Um, so let's get now into some practical session. I will just create a simple Maven project to run our Rest Assured project. And I'm going to name it as all right, so this is the basic Maven project. Now, in order to have Rest Assured into our Maven project, we need to add a couple of dependencies. Let's understand about those dependencies. So just initially when we have to start with a simple Rest Assured project, we will need two kind of dependency. First is the Rest Assured, and second is JUnit. So to get the dependency, it's quite easy. You can just Google about Rest Assured Maven dependency, and you can just go to the website. This is the Maven repository website. You can check out the latest version and just copy and paste it into your pom.xml. So I have it already handy here. Before that, I forgot to start my server. So now that we have the APIs which Rija has shared with us, so we can directly start with the testing. I will quickly run my mock server. Here, so my mock server is running already, and let's try to copy and paste the dependencies into our pom.xml. All right, so there are multiple dependencies. Yeah, and I'm trying to build my project. Okay, so let's go into our source folder and have a simple Java class called login test. All right, so now we are done with the dependencies. This rest assured rest assured is for accessing the libraries for rest assured APIs and all the annotations, and JUnit is for executing the test cases. As I mentioned earlier, we will be executing all our test cases with the different suites, and if you want to have a certain pattern on how we can execute the test cases, we do it using JUnit. So now I will be explaining the syntax of a simple test in Rest Assured. So I already have, so yeah, of course, just don't forget to run the mock server if you are mocking it. If you are mocking it with a standalone server, I will also show you how you can just integrate it with your framework, and so that you don't have to run the standalone server every time. Your framework will automatically do it for you while you are testing your test cases. So this is the syntax for Rest Assured sample test case. And I'm just trying to quickly add all the required packages. Okay, so As Raja mentioned, we have our login endpoint in place. So this is basically our base URL. In any kind of APIs, we see that we have a same base URL. It can be a private or a public, and only your endpoints keeps on changing. So this will always be the same for any of your API testing, right? So this, what we will be doing is we will be putting it into here like this. So this is your base URI. And then the format is something like a given, then when, and then. So what given is doing is, given is the required data which you have to give for an API testing. In the when part, you need to mention about the type of request. It can be a post request, or it can be a get request, or it can be a delete. Any kind of request it can be. And then after that, we will be doing all the assertions. So into the assertions part, we will basically compare the status code of the API, and then we can also capture the response from this particular API and use it in other APIs. So let me quickly fill in the body here. So this is the sample body. And right now I'm just hard coding it like this, but this is not the great way when you are working with the framework. So there is another option where you can just have your complete JSON body into a JSON object, and then you can add the parameters and into the key. It's a very common thing which you can just Google it on Stack Overflow, and you can find it, how you can do it in a much organized fashion in Java. Here we will be using the login endpoint. So this endpoint, which usually changes for all the APIs, we will be adding it in here. And then if you have the username and password, then this should be, I'm not sure what is, no worries. So your status code should be 200. I don't know, something is wrong with my Postman. So all right, so I think we are set with our first test case. So what our first test case is going to do is, it's trying to log in a user with this particular username and password, and it should give me a status code for 200. And for convenience, I will also print my response to see if I'm getting it correctly. All right, so let's try to run the test case. Running the test case, you can just right click and you can simply run it, and the JUnit will do the magic. It will try to run all your test case, and you can see, as you can see, the same response which Raja showed, which Raja has created in her fake API. This is what we are getting. Now, in the same way, you can write all your test cases like this. So this was for the success. Maybe I can write this for the invalid. You can have a user-friendly name for your test case so that you can understand what exactly it is doing. And this should be the response. I am writing my third test case here. All right, so now I have like 3 test cases, the set of 3 test cases for my API, and I'm trying to run all of them together. Okay, as you can see, 2 test cases have passed, which is expecting. So this is the missing mandatory parameter. And this one is also passed, the first one. I'm not sure what went wrong. All right, I think. Okay, so in the fake API, I think the password is mentioned as wrong. Yeah, as you can see. So now it has passed. So because I entered the wrong keyword into the password and it is exactly matching as Raja mentioned, so that's the reason it failed. But now all our 3 test cases are passing. So this is basically the simple rest assured test cases, which if you want to start from like a day 1, if you want to start your testing, you can do it. It is this simple. Then once you get the response, you can use this response, save it in a JSON file, and we can use it for other API, which we will be looking at in our next parts. So next, we will go for Spec Builder. So Spec Builder, as I mentioned, it is like a much prettier and a clean form of writing our test cases. So as you can see, everything is written here in a single block, like, given, when, then, everything. So what Spec Builder is doing is, it is actually defining it in a very, very well organized. The given, when, then are organized in a very clean fashion, so that we can reuse some of the functions. Let's say, for example, this is a common thing which we are using it across all our test cases. So let's say you have 100 of test cases. So you are not going to write it every time. So you can define it globally somewhere in your project, and you can get it run. You can run all your test cases through it. So what you can do is, we can just copy and paste it into our global variable, and then you can just start with your body. You can just mention your body, and then the when, and then statements. So let's see how the Spec Builder. So this was, let me just try to create a new Java class. Okay, and we will be converting those test cases which we have written in a simple JSON into a REST, into a Spec Builder. I have the sample syntax here already. Oops. Maybe I can show you in here. So this is how it is written. I will just quickly copy the syntax to save some time. And there you go. So here, as you can see, we can define, as I mentioned here, we can define our base URL into the global variables, so that we don't have to define it every time. Now, as you can see, the given block is different, the when block is different, and then block is different. So even let's say tomorrow, if you have a function which is doing which is just meant for checking the status code. So you can just define one function, and you can call it every time whenever you are running a new test case. So this is how you can just make your code cleaner than what we were doing in Rest Assured. In the simple test case which we have seen before. And also we will see that how important this will be when we will be integrating it with Cucumber. So let's try to understand the syntax for this particular test case. So it is exactly the same like we had it in the previous test, but in a much more organized way. So I will quickly try to run this test case, and we see that it's passed. I will also, so here what I'm doing is, here I'm trying to save the response for whatever I'm getting into the API into this response object. So this will be useful when I'm tomorrow, if I have to integrate this with another API, I can use the same response. I can extract the desired JSON parameters which I need from the response, and I can use it into other API. We are going to see that in our next sections. So right now I will just show you what I am getting into the response. So I'm just trying to response dot. This is going to print the response which I am getting right now. So as you can see, we are getting the expected response now. So this is the spec builder, and we can now see how we will be using this in Cucumber. So yeah. All right, so before we move to Cucumber, I also wanted to show you the integration test, how we can do at this level itself, no need for integrating with the Cucumber. So what we will be doing is we will be using the login response, whatever we have got in here, and we will be using this session token into the bearer header, into the authorization header. As you have seen, when Rija created the fake API for getting the users, she mentioned the header with the authorization bearer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the fake token which we have it. So this will be only giving us the correct response for the get users endpoint. So what I will do is I will just quickly show you about the get user endpoint. I have already saved this one. So this is my get users test case. And what I'm doing here is, as you can see, I'll define, sorry. Okay, so what this particular JSON path is going to do is it is going to convert the response into a JSON path, and I can use that. I can extract the, first let me try to run the test case so that I get the response and I can explain it in a better way. All right, so as you can see this is what we are getting it into our response. Now we are converting this into a JSON path object, and we are trying to extract this particular parameter and its value to use into our get users endpoint. So I have saved it globally so that it's available here for this test case also. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a string, sorry, a string of a string called auth token, which is going to save the session token. So auth token should have, so in auth token, if you will see, you will get the response as 1, 2, 3, 4. So here is my header, which looks like this bearer, and I am adding the auth token, which is taken dynamically from this particular value. So right now, let me try to run this, but I'm sure it's going to fail, and I will let you know the reason. Okay, this is, let me try to run both the test cases. Oops. Sorry. All right, so I'm trying to run both the test cases. Yeah. So this is what I wanted to see. So this, as you can see, this is the login one, which is fine. It's running fine. But why did this fail is because I'm getting a null pointer exception. Here, right now, we don't know how the test cases are being executed unless and until you don't mention it that this particular test case should be in the first or this should be the precondition. this is where you have, this is where, you can't do the integration test like this, because you don't know which particular test case has what priority. So right now, because this test case was executed for the first time, that time auth token was null. So that's the reason this has failed. Now, what we can do is, in order to perform the integration, right now, I will just quickly show you. If I don't write the auth token here, and I try to run this test case, it's going to run fine. Oops. Yeah. Okay, so it's giving me the profile correctly. Now, here is when the concept of integration testing comes into picture. So what we want to do is, first we need to log in with the user. Whatever the response we get it into our JSON path, we need to store it, we need to have it into a string variable, and that string variable, we can use it into our header for the next API point. So how we can do it is like this. So I have already created a sample integration test. So here what I am doing is, this is my test case called get profile. What this is doing is, it is first trying to log in the user with the login API, and it is checking that if the user has correctly the status code with 200. And I will also print the login response to see if I'm getting the correct response. Now we are going to save this response into a JSON path object, and then we will be having this into a string called auth token. And what we are trying to get is the session token parameter. So in the session token, the value will be 12345, and that is going to be saved into our auth token. And we can then call our get profile endpoint, get users endpoint, and then you need to mention that your header should have the authorization token with bearer, and the auth token will be taken from this string. And you can compare the status code that it should be a 200 okay. We will also at the end print what is the response we are getting. So this way you are just trying to use one API's response into another. You can do the same for, like, let's say if you are trying to log in, and then there is a case where you are retrieving the user's information. Now you need to use this response into some third API. So you can do it like this. Let me try to run this test case. Okay, so as you can see, we have first got the login response, and then we have got the get users response. So this is one way to do the integration testing. There is another way where we can use the before annotation. So this is much cleaner and the preferred way for some of the frameworks, but it again depends on what your requirement is. So here what you have to do is, let's say in your get profile service, in your profile services microservice, there are like 5 endpoints which you want to test. And the precondition for them should be that the user should be logged in. So what you can do is, you can write all your test cases here, and you can just mention about your login credentials into the before annotation. So what this will do is, if I'm trying to run my get all users test, it is going to give me a correct response. So what it does is, it will first go into the before annotation. It will check for what are the preconditions. So the precondition is, I need to log in with the user and save this into the authorization token, and then only I can use it. In the previous one, where we saw that we were getting the null exception. So the difference between because it was a normal test, but now here we are defining it as a precondition. So this is where the integration testing comes into picture. All right. Now let's move on to Cucumber. Cucumber is basically a testing tool that supports the BDD approach. When I say with BDD, it's like a simple behavior-driven development language where, the product owner or the business analyst or someone who doesn't know technical they can just write their scenarios into a simple user scenario, like into a given when then scenario, that you are given this particular API, you will have this when the parameters are this, and then it should give me give me the expected response. So in such language, the product owners can usually prepare the features and give it to the QA or the development team, and then we can take it from there. So in Cucumber, it offers a way to write the test case which anybody can understand, regardless of their technical knowledge. All right, so let's move on to the Maven dependency for the Cucumber. When we work with Cucumber, these are the two important dependencies which we need to take into account. So you can check for the latest versions which are available from the Maven repository. And so this is the first cucumber.java. And the second dependency is Cucumber JUnit. So I think this is the very strong combo, the Cucumber and JUnit, which I have seen like most of the frameworks are using, because it becomes easy and much more organized rather going for TestNG. Like I'm not saying TestNG is not the right way, but this I have seen most of the people are using this way into a strong combination of Cucumber and JUnit. So I'll just quickly show you. I have already my sample project here, and I have added the dependencies. So as you can see, I have added my Cucumber and JUnit dependency here. And now we can just start writing our test cases using Cucumber. So before that, let's first try to understand the structure. So whenever you start with the Cucumber project, you just need to simply add your dependencies into your Maven pom.xml, and then you need to create 3 folders. First is the feature, where you are going to write all your features. And while you are adding this feature file, you need to download the natural plugin for Eclipse. And I think for IntelliJ also you will. So it will look something like this. So this is the format, and it should always end with the extension feature, whatever the name of the file .feature. And this is how it will look like. So maybe you can check it out in Eclipse and in IntelliJ, whatever the IDE you are using. But don't forget to download this plugin. It's very, very helpful, and you can see it's much neater. So yeah, so this is the first folder where you add in all your feature file, and where you are mentioning your scenarios and everything. Then the second is the step definition file, where you are mentioning all your code logic and the steps associated with the features. Then we will also learn about the tidy jerkin plugin, which when I will show you practically when we are writing the test case using Cucumber. And the third is the Cucumber. And then inside there is an option folder, and you are writing your test runner. So test runner is basically a kind of an indicator which will mention that your test cases should be running in this particular way, that these are the first set of test cases which will run. You can exclude some of the test scenarios from your test suite. So it will be basically the way of defining the test project and test suite. And also you can have the reporting can be done here. So you can have the HTML reports or whatever the way you need your report to be. It can be a JSON format or something. We will talk about it when we go into the folder. So let's get started with Cucumber. So as you can see, I have created all the 3 folders, and I have also created a sample feature file for you. So this is the sample feature file, and the syntax will be, first you need to mention the feature. What should be the feature? So we are trying to validate the login API, and it will start with something like this. So the scenario is we are verifying the user is able to log in, and then it will be having a given keyword. So the given is login API with username as John and password as this. When requesting login as a post request. So login is, we are requesting login endpoint as a post request. then is logged in with a status code of 200. So what we are trying to do here is we are trying to log in with a username and password, and the expected, it is a post request, and then we are expecting the response to be a 200. Now, let me try to, I haven't defined any steps yet. So let me just show you. I'm trying to run this, and as you can see, this has failed, of course, because we have not added any logic yet. So now you can see here, it is defined that I have steps undefined. You can implement missing steps with the snippet below. Okay. So now there are two ways to define the step definition file. So I will quickly create one Java file called step. You can name it as per whatever the convention, or maybe we can keep it the same as we did for feature. So this is my step definition file. And what I'm trying to, so here comes the in picture, the tidy Jerkin plugin. So this is a very handy and useful plugin. What it does is it converts the Jerkin scenarios into a Java step. So let's see how it does it. Now, as you can see, this is my normal feature file. I'm just trying to copy and paste here. And as you can see, it has created the complete Java file for me. So I'm just trying to copy everything and paste it in my, I will have to change the name for my file. All right, so it is that simple to create a step definition file in Cucumber. For now, I'm just going to remove this. So as you can see here, now the skeleton of our step definition file is already is all set. Now what we need to do is we just need to put in our code here, and we need to start, we are done. We can start running our test cases from here. So from where are we going to get the codes? So we have our Spec Builder class already. We had our sample code here. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just copying. First of all, I will declare this as public into my step definition file. It's a global variable. Into my given statement, I will be writing the given. Then when will be under the when. Okay, I need to define this globally. And then will be into the then function. So these are basically the functions. Again. So these are basically the function which are associated with the feature file. So this is our given statement where we are defining the given from rest assured. This is the when where we are defining the post method and the login endpoint. And then here in the then method, we are defining we are doing the assertions. I will for convenience try to print the response as well. All right, so we are all set now. Now what I'm just going to do is try to run my test case, which I think is going to fail, or no, it has passed. Or okay, so there is one. So sometimes, you know, there are issues with the Jerkin plugin, so it will not give you the exact method, because, you know, it also looks into the escape characters, and that is how it is converting. So there is another way to do it. What you can do is, as you just run your feature file into your output, into your console, you can see that it also you can also implement it using this. So here is the when function already defined for me. So I'm just going to quickly go into my step definition. So there are two ways to do it. You can do it either with the tidy Jerkin plugin, or you can do it with this one. And I'm not sure why it's not reading my. Okay, I think I got it. The string. I think I have the simple syntax. Here. So here I am trying to take the arguments. As you can see in here, I am trying to take the arguments as this. Yes. All right, so here what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the parameters John and the password from the feature file. Yeah, if you are using it like this, you need to be very careful with the commas and the escape characters. So it's better that you don't hard code anything. It's always a good idea to use the JSON object. Yeah. So this is my string 1, which has the John parameter, which is the username. Yeah. So this is the first string, and this is the second string, which I'm getting it from the function, and this function will be called by this feature file. So as you can see, whenever you are writing something into the inverted commas, this will be taken as a variable. And then the response is also a string, which is a 200. And I think, as you can see this, it's not reading when you see highlighting any of the feature, which means any of the line into your feature file, that means that it is not being recognized by your step definition, which I'm not sure what went wrong. Let's try it again to copy and see it. You can also take an individual step and see into your tidy jerkin plugin. Yeah. I don't know why it's not recognizing this. Let me try again with the just copy. Oops. Okay, so finally we are set after a couple of retries. So yeah, there are some issues, because it's very important to have an exact match of the strings and things like, as you have seen, as you can see it in the steps. So whenever you get that kind of highlight in your feature file, just need to see if your steps are correct or no. You can verify it with this way into the console, or you can verify it using your tidy jerkin plugins. Now, so you are all set. Let's try to run this test case. And we were successfully able to run the test case. As you can see, the response is correct. So this is the sample Cucumber test case, which we have seen right now. Now I will just quickly give you a walkthrough on how I have prepared the entire test framework. So in here, there is also the concept comes of the Cucumber data table, where you have to run the same scenarios for the multiple users or multiple data. So in here, I have already prepared the data. And this is my feature file. Yeah, this is my feature file. So as you can see, the scenario we have seen this scenario basically, where we are writing the scenario given when and then. Now, let's say, for example, if you want to test the login API, which will have 3 different username and password, and then it will give you 3 different responses. So how you can do is you can just define your scenario as outline, and then instead of the inverted commas, you can use the triangle brackets for the username and password. So it is going to take the data from this following table, and it is going to populate here. And you can have your when requests similar to what we have seen for the login API, and then you can have the successful status will be taken from here. So I will quickly show you how my step definition file looks here. So this is my step definition file, and I was talking about this particular, this is how you can just add, create your JSON object and pass in all your JSON parameters into. So it will be much cleaner and you don't have to hard code anything to it. So this is my given. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reuse this particular step, the second step, because this step is almost similar to this one. I will have always, the APIs will always be the same. I just will have to change the endpoints. So what I have done is, I have defined an enum class where what I'm doing is I'm just trying to define the enums for it. So I have used login with the login endpoint. Then I have named user list API as users. So it will just pick up the username, the different endpoints, and it will be, then I can reuse this step anytime, whenever, throughout my project or throughout my service, wherever I have to use different endpoints. And again, this step is also same as this one. So I'm sorry, yeah. So even the status code is the same. So I don't have to rewrite my steps. You can reuse your steps in your step definition file for different APIs as well. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to log in the user with these 3 different cases. So let's run this scenario quickly. Yeah. So as you can see here, this is the first scenario it ran with a success. This is the second scenario where it is mentioning the invalid password. And this is the third scenario with the mandatory parameters. Yeah. And this, I have also created the user API. Oops, again, there is an issue with the auth token. So let's now understand how we can do the integration test using Cucumber. So it's very simple. So there we were using the before annotation. Even here you can do that in your test runner file, where you can define that this particular precondition should be running first uh, before your actual test case is running. But there is also another way and much cleaner way to do it. So this is what you can do. You can use the background keyword to first log in with your test case, to log in with your user, and then you can run all your set of test cases after you are. So this is kind of your precondition here. And I will try to run this scenario. So as you can see, first it has tried to log in with the user, and then it is giving me the response for the user. So this is how you can just do the integration using Cucumber. I will also explain about the test runner file where you can save all your reports. So this is the test runner file where you can define that how your report should look like. So here you are basically mentioning this is your feature. You need to pick up the feature from this folder. Then this is the keyword, and you need to pick up the steps from the steps folder. And you can add all your plugins. So for the plugins, you can just quickly go, you can check the Maven dependency for the Cucumber plugin, and then you can get the reports into different format. If you want to have an HTML report, or you need to have the JSON reports, so you can likewise have it. Even we have other functionalities like tagging the test cases. So you can just try, if let's say if you want to just run all your login test cases, so you can just simply create a tag here in the test runner that only the login test cases should run. The tags which has the annotation as login test case should only run. So what you can do is you can just quickly use this tag like this. And whenever your test cases are being executed, only the test cases which has this tag will only be executed. So yeah, I think that was it from my side. Maybe I can show you the reports. So this is how your report will look like whenever the test. This is a simple report in the login text, but you can also have it the HTML way or the JSON way. And yeah, I think, Alona, that is it from my side. If anyone has any questions, maybe we can quickly take it.
Yeah, there are some questions in the chat, so I will be reading them. So yeah, one by one, and then we can maybe get it there. And if you guys have more questions, please write it down. I will start from top. So the first one is business logic equals to microservice?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Is business logic equal to microservice? I'm not sure. Maybe you can.
If you can just elaborate.
Yeah. There will, yeah, if you can elaborate, it would be nice. And I'll just read another question from the same person. And how did we replace data interface in microservice architecture?
So you mean from the monolithic into the microservice architecture? Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Yeah, I'm not sure. If you can write it down like in a different way, maybe we can answer it and I will proceed further. Another question is, for example, is it possible that there would be some gateway between microservices? If yes, then if that gateway broken, then what will be happening?
Okay, so basically you mean the public gap, let's say if there is a public API gateway between two microservices, let's say if there is an external microservice and there is an internal private microservice and there is a gateway between them, and if it's broken. Is that your question?
I suppose, yes. It's not mine personally, but yeah, I think that's what they meant.
Okay. So yeah, so basically, we have encountered such kind of issue in at Stars Play as well, that if you have there are some instances where if there is some issue with the public API gateway, or if there into the proxy, it usually fails. So what we do is we will first run for our private test cases in that scenario, because the private endpoint will be a bit different from the public ones. So you just run your private test cases and see if that is running, and then you try to run your public test case, and then you compare both of them. If there is an issue with the public test case, then for sure there is something wrong with your proxy. So you can just have a look into your logs to get better idea where exactly it is failing. So this is the approach we can follow. If I'm not sure I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, Harsh can maybe reply back and say if that's answered. There's another question from the same person. Can we give dynamic value in .json file? Probably that was about mock.
Mock.
I think so.
Yes, you can. So what you can do is basically you won't be giving the dynamic value, but what you can do is you can just have the matching patterns. Let's say for now, as you can see, Rija has just hard coded it with John. But what you can do is you can just have a simple regex, and you can have a matching pattern, like it should be matching within this alphabets or this numbers, and this special characters are included. So that way you can do it, because dynamic, I think for mock you will have to set some patterns so that you can get that expected response in that certain range. So that's the ideal way to add into the mock.
Well, thank you. And how is the fake APIs useful in day-to-day tasks in your company when you already have real APIs implemented by developers?
Yeah, of course. But sometimes the thing is that, let's say if you are working into a sprint, or if you are working with some of the, because for us, this is a very important, it's very important to have the mock APIs in place, especially when we work with operators. So till the time the business is deciding on the operators requirements and things like that, we have the basic idea on what is the expected response which we are expecting from the external API. So we try to mock that response, and we can start testing our scenarios. Also, one of the example I would like to give for the credit card, let's say if you are testing using a credit card, or if you have to work with the payment methods like credit card, you don't add every time your real credit card or something. So there should be a sandbox or a mock in place when you have to do the regression for the payments. So this is when you can use the mocks, especially during the, for us especially, it is very much helpful when we are doing the operator integration, or we are trying to charge a user with the credit card. So those test cases, we usually do it with mocks.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because sometimes some cases we cannot really test, or
Yeah,
third-party integrations, we cannot really get their data much, so we have to fake it in order to automate it. So that's pretty much when mock is coming. I mean, if it's only internal APIs, it's makes sense to test them if you have it, but sometimes you don't really have it. Let's say if it's some third-party service that you are using for whatever reason, even payment. I think in this case, mocks might really be helpful.
Alona, also it's like the API mock service people use so that there can be a handshake with what we define there. So mostly people use it when they use contract kind of testing.
Yeah.
So if there is any changes in the provider, it will reflect. We have our own provider setup as well. So it's more like a handshake with what we have. And if there is any changes in the provider or consumer, it's very easy to track it. So I feel like more than integration testing, if it comes with a contract testing, it will be very helpful. This kind of mock service. Generally, mock service are defined, yeah, in the provider side, so it will be really helpful.
true.
Yeah, to capture issues. True. Makes sense. There is another question. What are you testing here by mocking it? Is testing the mocked version of the API enough to ensure that the real API is functional?
No, not at all. So for now, as you can see it in my project, we have just defined the mock into some, you can define basically your base URI into some of the environment variable or into a property file, and you need to change it as per your environment. So for example, in any of the companies, there are different environments. For example, you are working on a test environment or a staging environment, which you go before deploying it to the real production. So you need to keep changing your base URI. So that is where, you know, we can modify. So right now it is pointing to mock as localhost 8080, but then when your real API comes in place, you can just change or replace that base URI with your real API, and it should be working as expected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. There were some compliments, nice and well prepared content. Yeah, like there are some other comments like about the naming of the Java classes, but that wasn't the main focus, I think, in the session, how to name stuff. But yeah, it makes sense. It should be from capital letter to follow the guidelines. I'm thinking like, shall we share the quiz with people who are with us, and then I will still ask few more questions while people are working on it. What do you think?
Sure, we can start. I think we can just make Raja host and she can start with the quiz. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's what you can do.
All right. So Raja, I'll just make you the host quickly. All right. So Raja is the host now. Raja?
Thank you so much for that. Let's
I'll
start with the quiz. Maybe you
You can
can.
switch on your video for some
Yes.
excitement, and like, you know, people will
I
feel
didn't
more
realize it would
interactive.
be a video kind of session, but maybe next time. I will share my screen and I'll begin the quiz, and you guys can see it on your screen as well. So if the participants can be given the link, that would be great. And the password for that link would be, just 1 second, I'll start sharing my screen.
So link is shared in the channel, in the chat, so you guys can click on it.
Yes. And the password for that would be 728159. You can see it on my screen as well. I'll repeat it, 728-159.
So people can just go into that link and just enter this code and you will be able to participate.
Yes.
I think there is a generic link, not the particular link.
Yeah,
Or
it's a generic link. There you
enter the code at the top. Got it?
Yeah.
So right when you guys will start to take part in this quiz, I will be able to see your names. So I'm going to wait until a couple of you can join in. So we have Alona here.
Yes, I want to participate as well to see if I was a good listener today.
All right. Good luck with that. Let's wait for another 1 minute or so, just so we can see.
Yeah, there's at the top, if someone didn't find, at the top there will be the number that you need to put in.
Yes.
And the number is, yeah, 728-159. The link is in the chat, so please just click on it, or else we can win the prizes. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, I think we can proceed.
All right. So I'm about to start the quiz. Every single question, for every single question, you'll be getting 20 seconds. So good luck with it. And here we go.
Thanks.
Raja, can you read out the question?
Yes, I was about to, yes. Where do you add all the dependencies in your Maven project? Index.xml, pom.xml, feature file, or utils.java? So you have 5 more seconds. And time's up. So let's see how many of you did that. Good job for 80% of you. The next question is, my name is on the top because I earlier did the quiz. So we're going to ignore my name in it. And we're going to move forward. What is the syntax to set rule for comparing the headers in Firefox? Dot with request body equal to JSON, dot with header authorization matching, dot with header authorization equal to JSON, or none of the above. So last 5 seconds, and we're up. Results. So 43% of you did good. The rest of you, well, you weren't listening. Kidding. So moving forward, with the third question, which statement is not true for monolithic architecture? Flexibility in choosing technology, good for small team, a simple application, no microservices expertise. And your final 5 seconds are almost up. And here we go. So only 20% of you were right. What you guys missed is probably the not true part. You're supposed to tell the negative of it. This is something I did as well when I was doing the quiz. Which of the following is not the way to represent a resource in REST? Text, YAML, XML, JSON. And time is almost up. Done. So 71% of you, very correct. Good job. Next question is, while writing rest assured test cases, you can specify multi-value headers. Is it true or false? And your time is up. So let's see the response. Good job. Most of you got it right. Next is in where mock stubs cannot be configured via JSON files. Is it true or false? Time's up. So let's see the results. Yes, you're correct. It can be configured. Question number 7 is a feature file is actual code implementation of the feature. Is it a true statement or false? Last 3 seconds and up. The result is false, 43%. Good job. Question number 8. What is the language used for expressing scenarios in the feature file? Java, JSON, Gherkin, or Cucumber? Time's up. So the result is Gherkin, which is correct. We learned about the plugin. Neha explained very well. And this is the last question. Valida is on the top. Which of the following is not a template for API documentation? API blueprint, Swagger, Slate, REST-work. Apologies, not the last question. Sorry, I thought it was the last one. So, and last 5 seconds. Time up. The actual answer is REST-work, which is something we made up. Neha made up actually. And last question is, how would you resolve this error? Steps undefined. You can implement missing steps with the snippets below by creating a new feature file, by adding steps in the feature file, by creating a step definition file, or none of the above. Time's out. And 100% of you got right. That's good job.
Yay!
So if you can just ignore my name. Alona did the best, and as well as Valera. You guys did it. You have a tie. And third person is, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, but Aki. I don't really know. But good job, everybody. I guess Neha can talk for the rest of the time.
Okay, so maybe you can just take a screenshot of your answers and you can send it out the first, second, and third. So we will be distributing the prizes, maybe over email. And if you are in Dubai, we would also like to give some of the gift hampers from Stars Play. So you can just visit our office and you can collect it.
Or you can write us in LinkedIn so we can, those first 3. I mean, I can volunteer not to take the prize, but to give the prize to first 3 person after me. And yeah, those people can just write me in LinkedIn. I can post it in the channel, and yeah, we can just have it from there, if that's okay, so that we can figure out what we can do with it. I posted it in the channel.
Yeah.
Feel free to write it down with your name, and yeah, just mention that which place what was your place in the quiz. I will still have a copy though, but just to make sure. And yeah, we will take it from there.
Yeah, maybe the screenshot will be fine from there. So, we can verify it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sure. Okay. Is there any more questions? I suppose we are good. Really, thank you everyone for participating today. It was a very interesting session. Yeah, we can now start from scratch everything regarding API, and rest assured, at least having it like end to end, and we can know from where to start to do it, especially for those like me who doesn't work with Java much, as example. But yeah, I think it was very productive. Thank you so much to our presenters, Neha and Rija. It was very interesting, and thank you for the quiz as well. Yeah, please reach out to me for the gifts. We will figure it out later on. And I wish everyone to have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Evening,
So
probably.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.